The grand hall of the Valerian Palace stretched higher than most starships could fly. Crystal columns caught the light of 3 suns and threw rainbows across the assembled crowd. Creatures from 100 worlds filled the space with color and noise. Some had scales, others had fur, and a few were just clouds of glowing gas held together by energy fields. They all came to see Princess Aranel, heir to the greatest empire in known space. Princess Aranel sat on a floating throne that hummed with power. Her silver skin reflected the light, and her 4 eyes watched everything at once. She was young for Valarian royalty, only 200 years old, but she already commanded respect. Or perhaps it was fear. She enjoyed both equally. The feast had been going for hours. Servants brought dishes from worlds so far away that their names were hard to pronounce. Ambassador Minho sat near the lower tables, watching and waiting. He was human, which made him unusual here. Humans rarely left their home system anymore. They had lost the war 50 years ago and accepted isolation rather than continued fighting. Most species considered them defeated, broken, and irrelevant. A Krathan diplomat, whose shell was decorated with battle scars, raised a claw to speak. "Your Highness, we must discuss the rumors from the outer territories. Smugglers speak of human ships beyond their borders." Princess Aranel laughed, a sound like bells made of ice. "Humans? Let them wander. They are no threat to anyone but themselves." "But the legends," another alien said, this one from a species that looked like walking plants. "The stories say humans are fierce warriors, that they come from a death world and know nothing but survival and combat." The princess laughed harder. Several other aliens joined in. Ambassador Minho kept his face calm, but his hands tightened on his cup. "Legends," Princess Aranel said, wiping moisture from one of her eyes. "Old stories told by drunk traders. I have studied human culture extensively. They are soft. Their world may be dangerous, but they themselves are weak. They lost their last major war and ran home to hide." "What kind of warrior does that?" Ambassador Minho stood slowly. The hall quieted. "Your Highness, if I may speak." "Oh, please do," the princess said, gesturing with one long-fingered hand. "Tell us about these mighty human warriors. Convince us we should fear your people." Minho walked to the center of the hall. He was shorter than most beings here, and his simple clothes looked plain compared to the jewels and medals others wore. "I will not tell you to fear us, Your Highness, but I will say that legends often grow from truth. My people learned to survive on a world that tried to kill them every day. We faced predators, diseases, storms, and each other. We learned to adapt, to endure, to protect what we love. These are not threats. These are just facts." "Facts," the princess repeated. "Very well. Here is a fact. Your people surrendered. They accepted quarantine. They hide in their little system and bother no one. These are not the actions of great warriors. These are the actions of cowards who know they cannot win." Minho's jaws tightened, but he bowed. "Perhaps Your Highness is correct. Perhaps the legends are just stories after all." The feast continued, but the mood had shifted. Some aliens whispered to each other. Others avoided looking at the human ambassador. Princess Aranel felt satisfied. She had put the human in his place and reminded everyone who held power here. Hours later, as the guests began to leave, a messenger rushed into the hall. He was Valarian like the princess, but younger and clearly frightened. He approached the throne and whispered urgently. Princess Aranel's eyes widened slightly. "Say that again, louder." The messenger swallowed. "A human ship crashed on Krell 7, Your Highness. Our forces captured the pilot. He is injured, but alive. Commander Thalrix requests instructions." The hall went completely silent. Every being who remained turned to look. Ambassador Minho stepped forward. Your Highness, I request that the pilot be returned to human custody. We will handle the matter internally. No, the princess said. She stood from her throne and had lowered to the ground. This is perfect. We have been talking about human legends all night. Now we have an actual human warrior to examine. I will go to Krell 7 myself and see what makes these creatures so special in their own minds. Your Highness, that is not necessary, Minho said, and now there was an edge in his voice. The pilot may be injured. He needs medical care. He will receive it, Princess Aranel said. Valerian medical care, which is the best in the galaxy. You yourself have said humans are just survivors, Ambassador. So let this one survive in our custody for a few days. Unless you think he cannot handle it. It was a trap, and Minho knew it. If he protested too much, he would seem weak. If he agreed, he abandoned a human to alien hands. He chose his words carefully. Do what you must, Your Highness. But remember that survivors can be dangerous when cornered. Princess Aranel smiled. Is that a threat, Ambassador? It is a warning, Minho said. There is a difference. The princess turned and walked from the hall, her robes flowing behind her. She felt excited in a way she had not felt in years. Finally, something interesting was happening. She would see this human warrior, this survivor from a death world, and prove once and for all that the legends were nothing but smoke and noise. Behind her, Ambassador Minho stood alone in the emptying hall. He looked tired suddenly and sad. He pulled out a small communication device and spoke quietly into it. This is Minho. We have a situation. One of ours is captured on Krell 7. Prepare a diplomatic response team. And pray to whatever you believe in that it is not one of the veterans. If they captured someone from the war years, this could get very bad very quickly. The device crackled with a response he did not want to hear. His shoulders slumped. Understood. I will do what I can from here. He left the palace under the light of 3 setting suns. Somewhere in the outer territories, on a mining moon far from anywhere safe, a human sat in a cage. And Princess Aranel was flying toward him, expecting to find a primitive creature she could mock and study. She had no idea what was waiting for her. The legends, after all, had to start somewhere. The mining moon Krell 7 looked dead from space. Its surface was gray rock and dust, pocked with craters and mining scars. The facility sat in the largest crater like a metal spider, its legs reaching down into the profitable darkness below. This was where the Valarian Empire sent prisoners it wanted forgotten or it wanted extracted. Nobody visited Krell 7 unless they had to. Princess Aranel's ship landed in the military section of the facility. Commander Thalrix waited for her, his armor polished despite the dust that covered everything else. He was a career soldier, decorated and experienced, and he looked nervous. That should have told the princess something, but she was too focused on her own excitement. Your Highness, Thalrix said, bowing deeply. We are honored by your presence, though I must question the necessity of your journey. A simple prisoner hardly requires royal attention. Show me the human, Princess Aranel said, walking past him. Her guards followed close behind. Thalrix led them through corridors that smelled of recycled air and machinery. They descended 3 levels into the detention area. The cells here held the most dangerous prisoners, beings too violent or valuable to put in general population. Most of the cells were empty. Budget cuts meant fewer guards and less capacity. They stopped at cell 17. Through the energy barrier, Princess Aranel saw him. The human sat on the metal bench that served as a bed. He was smaller than she expected. Most species in the galaxy were larger than humans, but somehow she had imagined these legendary warriors would be bigger. He looked ordinary. 2 arms, 2 legs, 1 head. His skin was tan, his hair black and cut short. He wore the remains of a flight suit that was burned and torn in places. Blood stained the fabric, some of it dried, some of it fresh. His face was the interesting part. He had injuries there, bruises turning purple, and a cut above one eye that should have been treated. But his expression showed no pain. He looked at the princess with dark eyes that revealed nothing. No fear, no anger, just calculation. This is the warrior? Princess Arnell asked. He killed 3 of my soldiers during capture, Thoric said quietly. Killed them with his bare hands despite being injured from the crash. We had to use shock weapons to bring him down. Even then, he got back up twice. The princess stepped closer to the barrier. What is your name, human? The prisoner looked at her for a long moment. Then he spoke, his voice rough. Jiho? Just Jiho? No title? No rank? Just Jiho, he repeated. I am Princess Arnell, heir to the Valarian throne. You are in our territory illegally. Your ship violated the quarantine established by the treaty of... I know what treaty I violated, Jiho interrupted. I was there when we signed it. The guards around the princess tensed. No one interrupted royalty. But Princess Arnell held up a hand. She was curious now. You were at the treaty signing? That was 50 years ago. You do not look that old. Humans age differently than you do, Jiho said. We count our years by Earth's rotation, not galactic standard. And 50 of your years is only 42 of ours. I was young then. I am not young now. Why did you come here? The princess asked. Why violate the quarantine? For the first time, something showed in Jiho's eyes. Pain, but not from his injuries. I am looking for someone. My brother. He left our system 8 years ago. His ship was last seen in your territory. I want him back. Your brother is probably dead, Princess Arnell said. Not cruelly, just stating fact. Space is dangerous. Ships disappear. Then I want to know how he died, Jiho said. I want to bring him home. The princess studied him. This was not what she expected. The legends spoke of rage and violence, of humans who fought for glory and conquest. This man spoke of family and closure. It was almost ordinary. You are injured, she said, changing the subject. Our doctors can help you. I do not want your help, Jiho said flatly. I have seen what your people do to prisoners. I will heal on my own, or not at all. Proud, the princess said. And stupid. Those wounds could become infected. You could die. Then I die, Jiho said with a shrug. Everyone does eventually. Princess Arnell felt irritation rising. She had traveled all this way to see a legendary warrior, and she found a stubborn man looking for his brother. Where was the monster from the stories? Where was the unstoppable fighter? You are disappointing, she told him. The legends made your kind sound dangerous. You are just a fool on a pointless quest. Jiho smiled then, and it was not a nice smile. Your Highness, you have no idea what dangerous looks like. Pray you never find out. Before the princess could respond, alarms started blaring. Red lights flashed in the corridor. Commander Thalric's S-communicator crackled with panicked voices. Sir, we have a riot in Section 4. Multiple cells breached. Prisoners are loose and armed. Thalrix went pale. How many? At least 20, sir. No, wait, more than that. They are organized. This was planned. The floor shook. An explosion somewhere above made dust fall from the ceiling. The lights flickered. Your Highness, we must get you to safety, Thalrix said, already moving. His guards formed a protective circle around the princess. What about the prisoner? One guard asked. Leave him, Thalrix said. If the rioters reach this level, the energy barriers will hold them. As they rushed down the corridor, Princess Arnell looked back. Jiho stood at the barrier now, watching them leave. He did not look scared. He looked alert, focused, like a predator that had just caught a scent. The group reached the elevator. It was not working. Emergency protocols had locked it down. Thalrix cursed and led them to the stairs. They climbed 2 levels before meeting the first body. It was a guard, torn apart by something with claws. The princess had seen death before, but this was brutal. Savage. Krell, Thalrix said, his voice tight. They are the only species with claws like that. But the Krell prisoners were supposed to be sedated. Someone helped them, a guard said. This was coordinated. They kept moving. The sounds of fighting grew louder. Weapons fire, screaming, the crash of metal on metal. They reached the command center and sealed the door behind them. Inside, technicians worked frantically at consoles, trying to restore order. Status, Thalrix demanded. Sir, we have lost sections 2 through 6. Rioters control the armory. They have weapons now. Our forces are falling back to defensive positions. We called for reinforcements, but they are hours away. Princess Aranel moved to the monitor wall. Screens showed chaos throughout the facility. Prisoners fought guards. Guards fought each other in the confusion. And through it all, figures in dark armor moved with purpose. They were not rioting. They were attacking with military precision. That is not a riot, she said quietly. That is an invasion. Thalrix joined her. His face went gray. Raiders. The Krell horde must have planted agents among the prisoners. They are after the facility's resources, or? He looked at the princess. She understood. They were after her. A Valarian royal, captured or killed, would be worth more than any amount of ore. We hold here, Thalrix said. This room is reinforced. We can last until help arrives. On one of the screens, Princess Aranel saw Cell 17. The energy barrier was still active. Jiho stood in the center of his cell, perfectly still, watching the door. Waiting. She thought about what he said. You have no idea what dangerous looks like. The first explosion hit the command center door 20 minutes later. The second explosion came 10 minutes after that. By the time the third explosion blew the hinges off, only 2 guards stood between the princess and death. And somewhere below them, in a cell that would not hold much longer, a human prepared to make a choice. The energy barrier failed at exactly the wrong moment. Jiho heard the power systems dying throughout the facility. The hum that had surrounded his cell since they locked him in here simply stopped. The faint shimmer of the barrier vanished like smoke. He stood there for 3 seconds, considering his options. The ship he came in was destroyed. His brother was still missing. And somewhere above him, people were dying in a fight that had nothing to do with him. The smart choice was to find an escape pod and leave. Let the Valerians handle their own problems. Jiho had never been good at making smart choices. He stepped out of the cell and moved down the corridor. His body hurt. The crash had broken at least 2 ribs and torn something in his left shoulder. The Valerian shock weapons had not helped. Every breath sent pain through his chest. He ignored it. Pain was just information. It told him he was still alive. The guard station at the end of the corridor was empty. The guards had run toward the fighting, leaving everything behind. Jiho searched quickly and found what he needed. A shock baton meant for controlling prisoners. A security knife, short but sharp. And on the wall, a locker that someone had forgotten to lock. Inside the locker was body armor, too large for him, but better than nothing. He strapped on what pieces would fit. The helmet was useless, designed for a skull shape he did not have, but the chest piece worked if he tightened all the straps. His ribs screamed at the pressure. He ignored that 2. The facility map was displayed on a wall screen. The command center was 3 levels up. That was where they would have taken the princess. That was where the raiders would be heading. Jiho memorized the route and started moving. The first body he found was a guard, dead from claw wounds. The second was a prisoner, shot multiple times. The third was something else entirely. A Krell raider in black armor, killed by an explosion that had torn through the corridor. Jiho checked the body and found a proper weapon. A plasma rifle, military grade, still charged. Now he could work with this. He moved through the facility like a ghost. The raiders were focused on the command center, pushing hard against the defenders. They did not expect anyone coming from behind. Jiho used that. He moved through maintenance corridors and ventilation shafts. Paths that were tight even for his human size, but impossible for the larger species. On level 2, he came up behind a group of 3 Krell raiders. They were setting up a heavy weapon to blast through a reinforced door. They worked with professional efficiency, communicating in clicks and growls. They never saw him coming. Jiho shot the first one in the back of the head. The plasma bolt punched through armor and skull. The second raider turned, bringing up his weapon. Jiho was already moving, sliding under the firing arc. He drove the security knife up through the gap in the armor at the raider's throat. Hot blood sprayed across his hands. The third raider got a shot off. The plasma bolt burned across Jiho's side, searing through the stolen armor and into flesh. The pain was incredible, like being branded with a hot iron. Jiho did not stop. He could not stop. Stopping meant dying. He closed the distance and smashed the rifle butt into the raider's face. The creature staggered back. Jiho hit it again, and again, and again, until it stopped moving. Then he stood there, breathing hard, blood running down his side. The smell of burned flesh, his own flesh, filled his nose. He checked the wound. Bad, but not fatal. The bolt had cauterized as it cut. He would live long enough to finish this dot in the command center. Princess Aranel watched the security feeds with growing horror. The door would not hold much longer. 2 guards remained, both wounded. Commander Thalrix had died in the first breach, torn apart by Krell claws, while buying time for his princess to retreat deeper into the room. The guard named Doyun stood in front of her, his weapon ready, his hands steady. He was young for a royal guard, barely past his first century, but he had trained his whole life for this moment. Your Highness, when they break through, run to the back room. There is an emergency escape shaft. You might make it. And you? She asked, though she knew the answer. I will buy you time, Doyun said simply. It is my honor. The princess looked at the screens. One showed the door, buckling under repeated impacts. Another showed the corridor beyond, packed with raiders preparing for the final push. And a third screen showed something that made no sense. A figure in mismatched armor was moving through the raider's rear position. He moved wrong, low and fast, like something hunting. As she watched, he shot one raider, stabbed another, and used a third as a shield against return fire. The raiders scattered, their formation breaking as they tried to respond to the threat behind them. Is that? She whispered. Doyun looked at the screen. His eyes widened. The human prisoner. He escaped. They watched as Jiho fought his way forward. He was outnumbered 10-1, injured, and using stolen weapons. It should have been impossible. The raiders were professional soldiers, trained and equipped. But they were not ready for what they faced. Jiho did not fight like other species. Valerians used their superior technology and tactics. Krell used overwhelming force and ferocity. Other species had their own styles, their own approaches. Jiho used everything. He shot when he had ammunition. He stabbed when he was close. He used the environment, bringing down a ceiling panel to crush 2 raiders. He grabbed a fallen raider's grenade and threw it back before it exploded. And he did not stop. They wounded him twice more, plasma burns across his leg and arm. He kept moving. They cornered him in a dead-end corridor. He climbed the walls, using maintenance pipes, and came down on them from above. Princess Aranel had studied combat from 100 species. She had seen arena fights, military exercises, and recordings of actual battles. She had never seen anything like this. Jiho fought like the only thing that mattered was survival. And survival meant going forward, always forward, never stopping until the threat was dead or he was. The legends, she said quietly. They were not exaggerating. They were not even close. The raiders at the command center door had turned to face this new threat. Their organization was breaking down. Half of them tried to maintain the assault on the door, while half turned to deal with Jiho. It was a mistake. Divided attention meant divided force. The door exploded inward. But it was not the raiders who came through. It was Jiho, covered in blood, some his and some not, carrying a plasma rifle in one hand and a Krell blade in the other. He had used the raiders' own explosive on the door, coming through ahead of them. He saw Princess Aranel and Doyan. His eyes met hers for 1 second. Then he turned and fired into the raiders pushing through behind him. What followed was not a battle. It was slaughter. In the confined space of the command center, with no room to maneuver, Jiho became something terrible. He used every weapon available. When the rifle ran dry, he used the blade. When the blade broke, he used his hands. When the raiders tried to overwhelm him with numbers, he used their own bodies as shields and weapons. Doyan joined the fight, covering Jiho's blind spots. Together they held the doorway. The raiders had the numbers, but numbers meant nothing in a space where only two could attack at once. And those two had to face a human who refused to die. The last raider fell with Jiho's hands around its throat. Jiho held on long after it stopped moving, making sure. Then he let go and stumbled backward. His armor was gone, torn away during the fighting. His body was a map of wounds. Burns, cuts, bruises, and things that looked worse. Blood covered him completely. He turned to face the princess. She saw his eyes clearly now. They were the eyes of someone who had done terrible things because someone had to do them. Not because he enjoyed it. Not because he was a monster. Because there was no other choice. "Your Highness," he said, his voice rough. "Are you hurt?" "No," she managed to say. "Thanks to you." Jiho nodded. Then his legs gave out. He fell to his knees, then to his side. Doyan rushed forward to check him. "He's alive," Doyan reported. "Barely. These wounds... He should be dead already." Princess Aranel knelt beside the human who had saved her life. She had mocked the legends. She had called humans weak. She had laughed at the idea of human warriors. She would never laugh again. "Get him to medical," she ordered. "Use my personal doctors. Give him whatever he needs. He does not die. Do you understand me? He does not die." "Yes, Your Highness," Doyan said as they waited for rescue teams. Princess Aranel sat in the blood-soaked command center and thought about legends. They were not just stories. They were warnings. And she had been too arrogant to listen. The medical bay smelled of antiseptic and something else, something sweet that Jiho's nose could not identify. He woke up slowly, his mind climbing out of darkness that had held him for days. His body felt wrong. Not painful, exactly, but distant. Drugs, probably. Good ones. "He is awake," a voice said. Female, speaking Valarian with an accent he did not recognize. Jiho opened his eyes. The ceiling above him was white and clean. Medical equipment surrounded his bed, monitoring things he did not understand. To his right stood a woman in a white coat. She looked human, which surprised him. She had dark hair pulled back tight and sharp eyes that studied him like a puzzle to solve. I am Dr. Subin, she said in perfect human language. You have been unconscious for 3 days. How do you feel? Like I got hit by a ship, Jiho said. His voice came out rough and his throat hurt. Where am I? The Lara Prime, the Royal Palace. Princess Aranel had you brought here for treatment. Subin moved closer and checked the monitors. You had 17 separate injuries. 3 broken ribs, a punctured lung, severe plasma burns, multiple lacerations, and a concussion. By all medical logic, you should not have been able to walk, let alone fight. Yet you killed 12 Krell raiders while carrying these wounds. 14, Jiho corrected. 2 more in the corridor before I reached the command center. Sabin's expression did not change. 14 then. You have been healing faster than expected. Human regeneration is remarkable, even by galactic standards. The adrenaline response, the immune system adaptation, the pain tolerance. I have been studying your species for years, and you still surprise me. You are human, Jiho said. It was not a question. Yes, I left Earth 30 years ago to study medicine across the galaxy. When word came that a human needed treatment here, they requested my assistance. Valarian doctors are excellent, but human biology is unusual enough that a specialist was needed. The door to the medical bay opened. Princess Aranel entered, followed by her god Doyon. She looked different than she had in the detention cell. Less arrogant. More careful. She studied Jiho the way someone studies a weapon they do not fully understand. You are awake, she said. Good. We have much to discuss. My brother, Jiho said immediately. Have you found any information about him? The princess hesitated. We are looking. But first, I have questions. You saved my life. I want to understand why. Jiho shifted in the bed, and pain flared through his side despite the drugs. You were in trouble. I could help. It was not complicated. You could have escaped, the princess said. The facility was in chaos. You could have found a ship and left. Instead, you fought your way through an army to save the heir to an empire that considers your people defeated and irrelevant. Why? Jiho looked at her for a long moment. Where I come from, we have a saying. If you can help, and you do not, then you chose to harm. I do not like choosing to harm, even when the person you save mocked you. The princess asked. Even when she called you weak and laughable? You did not know any better, Jiho said simply. Now you do. The princess sat in the chair beside his bed. Diane took a position by the door, watching but saying nothing. Princess Aranel studied Jiho's face like she was seeing him for the first time. Tell me about humans, she said. Not the propaganda. Not the political statements. The truth. What makes your species different? Jiho closed his eyes, thinking. We are not different. That is the truth everyone misses. We are not special warriors, or blessed by gods, or engineered for combat. We are just people who come from a very bad place. Earth, the princess said. The death world. You call it a death world. We just call it home. Jiho opened his eyes again. Everything on Earth is trying to survive, and survival means competing with everything else. The weather changes without warning. Storms that can destroy cities. Temperatures that swing from burning hot to freezing cold. Earthquakes, volcanoes, floods. The planet itself is unstable. And the life? Princess Aranel asked. Worse than the planet, Jiho said. Predators with claws and teeth that can cut through bone. Diseases that evolve faster than we can fight them. Parasites, poisons, venoms. Plants that can kill you if you touch them. Insects that swarm in numbers you cannot count. Everything evolved to kill everything else, and humans evolved in the middle of it all. Dr. Subin moved to stand beside the princess. This is accurate, she confirmed. Earth's biodiversity is extreme compared to most worlds. The evolutionary pressure is enormous. So we adapted, Jiho continued. We learned to run long distances to chase prey until it collapsed from exhaustion. We learned to throw things with accuracy to hunt from far away. We learned to sweat to cool ourselves so we could work in heat that would kill other species. We learned to think and plan and work together because alone we would die. But you did more than survive, the princess said. You conquered your world. We survived our world, Jiho corrected. Conquering was just a side effect. We learned to make tools, then weapons, then machines. We learned agriculture, medicine, technology. We went from caves to space stations in a few thousand years because we had to keep adapting or we would go extinct. The species that could not adapt on Earth died. We are what was left. The princess leaned forward. And the wars? The violence? The legends speak of human warriors who never surrender, who fight beyond reason. Jiho's expression hardened. We fight because we learned that nothing is given freely. Everything worth having must be protected. Family, home, peace, freedom. We learned that if we do not stand up for what we value, someone will take it away. So yes, we fight. But we do not fight for glory or conquest or because we love violence. We fight because we love what we are protecting. You fought for me, Princess Arnel said quietly. Why? Because you did not deserve to die like that, Jiho said. Because the people with you were trying to protect you, and that was worth respecting. Because I was there, and I could help, and choosing not to help would make me less than I want to be. The room was quiet for a moment. Then Ambassador Minho entered. He looked tired, like he had not slept in days. When he saw Jiho alive, relief showed on his face. Thank the stars, Minho said. I heard what happened. I came as soon as I could. Ambassador, the princess said, standing. Your timing is convenient. I have been learning about humans. Perhaps you can provide context. Minho looked between her and Jiho. What kind of context here, Highness? The isolation wars, she said. Your people lost, accepted quarantine, and retreated to your home system. This is what we tell our children. That humans tried to fight the galaxy and were defeated. But that is not the whole truth, is it? Minho sighed. No, Your Highness. It is not. The isolation wars were not a military defeat. They were a political decision. Humans had been fighting each other for centuries. When we finally reached space and met other species, we were still fighting. Civil conflicts, resource wars, ideological battles. We were exhausted, so you lost, the princess said. We stopped fighting, Minho corrected. There is a difference. When the Galactic Council offered us a choice, to join their systems under their rules or accept isolation, we chose isolation. Not because we could not win a war, but because we were tired of war. We wanted peace, even if it meant being alone. And now? Princess Arnel asked. Now we are ready to talk again, Minho said. But on equal terms. Not as defeated primitives begging for acceptance. As partners who have something to offer. The princess turned back to Jiho. What you did at Krell 7, that was normal for a human? That was survival, Jiho said. Any human would have done the same in that situation. We do not have a choice. Our bodies will not let us quit. Pain, fear, exhaustion, they are just things we push through. It is how we are built. Remarkable, the princess whispered. Then louder, you came here looking for your brother. I have had my people search our records. There is no official record of a human named Hyen in our territory. Jiho's hands tightened on the bedsheets. Then unofficial records? The princess exchanged a look with Minho. There are rumors. Reports of illegal operations in the outer territories. Slavers who do not respect quarantine zones. If your brother's ship was captured, he might have been taken by these criminals. Where? Jiho asked, trying to sit up. Pain stopped him halfway. Easy, Dr. Subin said, pushing him back down. You are still recovering. Where? Jiho repeated, looking at the princess. Princess Aranel made a decision that would change everything. I will help you find him. But in return, you will help me understand humans better. Deal? Jiho studied her face. She meant it. This was not political. This was personal. She had seen what she had seen, and it changed her. Deal, he said. Outside the medical bay, in the grand halls of the palace, change was already beginning. Word of what happened at Krell 7 was spreading. A human had fought through impossible odds to save a princess he had no reason to save. The legends were true after all, and the galaxy was going to have to figure out what that meant. The ship cut through space like a blade through water. It was a Valarian military vessel, fast and well-armed, but flying under private registry to avoid questions. Princess Aranel stood on the bridge, watching the stars streak past. Beside her, Jiho checked his weapons for the third time. You are nervous, the princess observed. I am prepared, Jiho corrected. There is a difference. 2 weeks had passed since Krell 7. Jiho had healed faster than Dr. Subin expected, though he still moved carefully. The princess had used her resources to track down rumors and follow leads. The trail led to a station in neutral space, beyond any empire's official control. The kind of place where laws did not matter and money solved all problems. The kind of place where slavers operated. Du Yan approached from the weapons station. We will arrive in 20 minutes, Your Highness. The station's defenses are active, but they are not military grade. We can fight our way in if needed. We try talking first, Princess Aranel said. If that fails, then we fight. The station appeared on the view screen. It was a massive structure built from salvaged ships and asteroid mining equipment. Thousands of beings lived and worked there, most of them avoiding their home governments for one reason or another. The station had no official name. People just called it the market. The ship docked without incident. Princess Aranel had dressed simply, hiding her royal identity. Jiho wore armor, but not obviously. They could pass as traders or mercenaries. Diane and 3 other guards followed close behind, watchful. The market smelled wrong. Recycled air mixed with chemicals and waste and too many different species in one place. Shops lined the corridors, selling everything from food to weapons to information. Beings of every description moved through the crowds, buying, selling, negotiating. Jiho moved with purpose. The princess had given him all the information they had found. A contact named Telik, who supposedly knew about human captives. They found him in a bar that catered to species who breathed oxygen. Telik was Krathan, his shell scarred from old battles, his eyes calculating. You are here about the human, Telik said before they could speak. Word travels fast. A Valarian princess traveling with a human. Very interesting. Where is he? Jiho asked, his voice flat. Information costs money, Telik said. Or favors. What are you offering? Princess Aranel placed a data chip on the table. Enough credits to buy a ship. And a promise that we will forget your face and your name when this is done. Telik picked up the chip and scanned it. He nodded slowly. The human you seek is here. The slavers keep their merchandise in the lower levels, Section 7. But there is a problem. What problem? Jiho asked. The operation is protected. Not just guards. Real protection. The Valarian kind. Telik looked at the princess. Your people are involved in this, Your Highness. Some of your nobles pay well for exotic slaves. Humans are very exotic these days. Princess Aranel's expression went cold. Names. I do not have names, Telek said quickly. I am just a middleman. But the protection is real. If you attack, you will be starting a war with powerful people. Then we start a war, Jiho said, standing up. They moved through the station to Section 7. The lower levels were darker, less maintained. The people here looked desperate or dangerous, often both. Guards stood at checkpoints, checking credentials and taking bribes. Doyen moved ahead to scout. He returned quickly. 20 guards, military trained. Energy barriers on the holding cells. This is a professional operation. Can we fight through? Princess Aranel asked. Yes, Doyen said, but not quietly. Then loud, Jiho said. He checked his plasma rifle. Where is the main power? They found the power junction in a maintenance corridor. Jiho placed a small explosive charge, one he had taken from the ship's armory. When this goes off, we have maybe 3 minutes before backup power kicks in. We go in fast, find Hyan, and get out. The princess nodded. Do it. The explosion was not large, but it was effective. The lights died. Emergency systems activated, but they were dim and flickering. The guards at the checkpoint shouted in confusion. Jiho and his team moved like shadows. The first guard went down to Jiho's rifle. The second died before he could raise an alarm. The third managed to fire, but his shot went wide. Doyen's blade found his throat. They reached the holding cells. The barriers were down with the power out. Inside, beings of a dozen species huddled in fear. And in the back cell, Jiho saw him. Hyan looked thinner than Jiho remembered. His face was bruised, and his eyes were hollow. But when he saw his brother, something sparked in those eyes. Recognition. Hope. Jiho? Hyan whispered, like he did not believe it. I came for you, Jiho said, forcing the cell door open. Can you walk? I can run if needed, Hyan said, standing on shaking legs. The other prisoners were moving now, seeing their chance. The princes made a decision. Free them all. We cannot save everyone, but we can save these. They moved back through the station, a growing group of freed captives following. The guards responded, but they were disorganized. The slavers had not expected a real attack. They relied on fear and secrecy, not military readiness. The firefight in the main corridor was brief but intense. Jiho and Doyen held the front while the princess organized the captives' retreat. Hyan fought beside his brother despite his weakness, picking up a fallen guard's weapon and using it with familiar efficiency. They reached the ship. The captives piled into the cargo hold. The station's defense systems were activating, but slowly. The ship's pilot, a Valarian named Kira, already had the engines hot. We need to go now, Kira called over the com. Station weapons are powering up. Go, Princess Aranel ordered. The ship pulled away from the dock as plasma bolts began striking its shields. They jumped to faster than light speed before the station could launch pursuit. In the cargo hold, freed captives celebrated. On the bridge, Jiho sat with his brother, neither of them speaking, just being alive together. The journey back to Valar Prime took 3 days. Ambassador Minho met them at the landing pad, and his face was troubled. Your Highness, you have started something that cannot be stopped. The footage from the station is spreading across the networks. Everyone knows what you did. Good, the princess said. Let them know. But it was not good. Not entirely. Chancellor Vormak, one of the Emperor's chief advisors, was waiting in the throne room. His face showed fury barely contained. You have committed treason, Princess, Vormak declared. You attacked a lawful business operation. You freed criminals and slaves. You did this with a human, violating the quarantine protocols. The Council demands answers. The Council can demand whatever it wishes, Princess Aranel said calmly. Those were not lawful operations. They were criminal enterprises trading in sentient beings. And yes, I worked with a human. I worked with the human who saved my life while your lawful security failed at Krell 7. Vormak's eyes narrowed. You have been infected with human sentiment. They are dangerous, Your Highness. They cannot be controlled or predicted. They must remain isolated. They saved my life, the princess repeated. They freed dozens of innocent captives. They did what was right when we did nothing. The argument escalated. Vormak called for the princess to be removed from succession. He claimed humans were a threat to galactic stability. He demanded that Jiho and Haiyan be returned to quarantine immediately. The situation came to a head 3 days later. Princess Aranel was scheduled to address the Galactic Council about humanity's petition to end quarantine. On the morning of her speech, Vormak made his move. Assassins struck in the palace gardens. 3 of them, professionals hired to make it look like human violence. They came at the princess with blades and poison, intending to kill her and blame Jiho. They did not expect Jiho to be there, or Haiyan, or Dian. The fight was brief. Jiho moved faster than the assassins expected, his body still remembering Krell 7. Haiyan, despite his recent captivity, fought with the same human determination. Dian protected the princess while his guards secured the area. One assassin survived long enough to talk. He named Chancellor Vormak as the one who hired them. Within hours, Vormak was arrested. The evidence was overwhelming. The Emperor himself, who had been watching events unfold with careful attention, finally acted. He appeared before the Galactic Council, his presence commanding silence. My daughter has shown me something I had forgotten, the Emperor said. That laws and traditions must serve justice, not replace it. The humans have been isolated long enough. They have proven themselves worthy of our respect. Today, I formally request that the Galactic Council lift the quarantine on the human home system. The debate lasted for hours, but the footage from the market station had already spread too far. People across the galaxy had seen a human and a Valerian princess working together to free slaves. They had seen what humans could do when they chose to help rather than harm. The vote passed. Humanity's quarantine would end. On the palace balcony, Princess Aranel stood with Jiho and Haiyan, watching the celebrations below. Ambassador Minho joined them, tears in his eyes. You did it, he said. You actually did it. We did it, the princess corrected, looking at Jiho. All of us together. Jiho smiled. It was the first real smile the princess had seen from him. My brother is safe. That is what matters to me. The rest is politics.